What happens when America's most unshakable country legend walks straight into the lion's den of daytime TV and the host who built her career on oppressing people apart decides to take a swing at her? It was supposed to be a simple interview. Smiles, small talk, promotion. But in less than 5 minutes, one pointed question turned into an all-out verbal brawl that left the audience frozen, the cameras shaking, and Joy Behar realizing she just picked a fight with a woman who's fought real battles and never lost one. Trust me, this talk show won't disappoint you. It'll be worth every second of your time. The View studio was filled with its energy for what everyone expected to be a routine celebrity interview. The cameras swept across the panel, Whoopi in calm command, Sunny with her polite smile, Alyssa tapping her notes nervously, and Joy already smirking like she knew exactly what kind of chaos she was about to create. Then the stage door opened and Reba McEntire walked in. Country royalty in heels, red hair glowing under the lights, charm wrapped in steel. The audience roared. She waved, gave that warm practice smile, and took her seat. Ladies and gentlemen, Joy announced the Queen of Country herself, Reba McEntire. 40 years of hits, heartbreaks, and a fan base that could fill Texas twice over. She clapped slowly, mock admiration flickering in her eyes. Reba, you've been around forever. Be honest. Doesn't it sting watching real talent get replaced by TikTok kids who can barely hold a note? The air went still. Even Whoopi's eyebrows shot up. It was the kind of question that crossed a line. Reba chuckled softly. Oh, honey, she said, her voice sweet with warning. If you think popularity replaces talent, you've never tried to earn either. Laughter rippled through the audience. Part delight, part disbelief. Joy blinked, pretending to laugh along, but the sting was visible. She recovered fast. Relax, Reba. It's just a question, Joyce said, swirling her coffee like she was stirring trouble. I just miss the days when musicians actually worked their way up instead of going viral over lip syncs and lighting filters. Reba tilted her head, pretending to think. And I miss when talk show hosts did research before talking. She fired back. Guess we're both nostalgic. The crowd howled. Whoopi looked down, trying to hide a grin. Sunny mouthed. Oh my God. Joy's face tightened, but she kept smiling. Joy leaned in again, her tone sharper now. You sound defensive. You sure you're not just bitter? I mean, the last time you went viral, it was for tripping on stage at an award show. Reba's laugh was short and dangerous. And the last time you went viral, Joy, was for yelling at a guest who dared to talk back. Guess we both know how to make headlines. The audience gasped, a mix of shock and thrill. Joy's eyes flashed. Careful, she said. This isn't Nashville. You can't sing your way out of a bad question. Reba leaned forward, elbows on the table, voice low. I don't need to sing, sweetheart. I just tell the truth, and that seems to make more noise than half your punchlines. The studio went dead quiet. Alyssa shifted in her seat. Whoopi raised her hand slightly. Let's move on, signal. But it was too late. The energy had shifted completely. Joy forced a laugh. All right. All right. Don't get your boots in a twist. I'm just saying it's easy to stay relevant when you've got a fan base that worships nostalgia. Reba smiled. And it's easy to stay employed when controversy is your only skill. The audience erupted. Even Whoopi couldn't hide her reaction this time. Joy sat back, her face a mix of shock and defiance. The laughter from the last exchange hadn't even faded. Joy leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms with that practice smirk. Relax, Reba, she said, voice smooth but dripping with sarcasm. I'm just saying maybe country legends like you feel overshadowed. You know, by the newer generation, the ones who actually know how to use a smartphone. The audience let out a nervous chuckle. Reba's eyes sharpened just slightly, the corners of her lips lifting. Not in amusement, but in warning. Overshadowed, she said, leaning forward a little. Sweetheart, you can't cast shade when you're standing under my light. That line hit like a punch wrapped in honey. A few people in the audience actually gasped. Joy blinked, clearly not expecting the hit to land so cleanly, but she wasn't done. Not even close. You're a great singer, Reba. Joy said, her voice getting tighter. But let's be real. The world's moved on. People don't need Nashville wisdom to feel something anymore. These days, music's about evolution, not nostalgia. Reba's smile didn't move, but her tone dropped to something quieter, cooler. Then why do your ratings drop every time someone honest sits in this chair? The crowd froze. A few gasps, a few claps, and one audible wow. Even Whoopi shifted uncomfortably, trying not to make eye contact with the camera. Joy's fake smile faltered. Oh, so now you're blaming me for the ratings. Reba shrugged lightly. Not blaming you, Joy. Just noticing the pattern. Maybe folks at home get tired of watching you tear down people for a living. The shot hit harder than expected. You could see it. Joy's posture stiffening, that glimmer of anger flashing through her eyes. But Reba stayed calm, steady, composed, like she'd been here before, just in a different kind of arena. Joy laughed, but it wasn't the funny kind. Please, I call it honesty. Someone's got to cut through all the PR fluff you celebrities rehearse. Reba nodded slowly. And yet somehow you keep mistaking cruelty for candor. Must be exhausting carrying that confusion around every day. The audience erupted. Laughter, applause, even a few whistles. Joy's hand froze halfway to her coffee cup. For the first time all morning, she looked like she'd lost control of the room. Whoopi winced. Sunny looked stunned, and Alyssa scribbled something down like she was taking notes from a master class in verbal warfare. Joy tried to laugh it off, but it came out thin. Well, she said, you've definitely still got that fire. Guess some people just don't age out of their attitude. Reba smiled sweetly, tilting her head. And some people never grow into theirs. The studio had gone past tense. It was tight. Every word now carried weight. Joy leaned forward, resting her elbows on the desk, her tone shifting from mockery to something colder. You talk about earning respect, Reba, but come on. You've been at the top for decades. Easy to preach about hard work when you're sitting on a mountain built from it. Reba didn't move. Her stillness was its own warning. A mountain, she said quietly. Honey, that mountain was built out of the nights I almost quit. I played in bars that smelled like beer and regret. I sang over the sound of pool tables and people arguing. Some nights I got paid in leftover food. You call that outdated, I call it earning oxygen. The crowd stirred, but Reba wasn't done. Her voice stayed steady, but every syllable hit like a hammer. You want to talk about relevance? I was singing before hashtags, before autotune, before PR teams wrote your personality for you. You know what kept me here, Joy, not luck, not algorithms. Grit. Joy smirked, pretending to be unimpressed. Oh, please, she said, waving a dismissive hand. You made millions off the same system you're now trashing. Don't rewrite your past just because struggle sells better than success. That line hit hard, but it bounced off. Reba's eyes narrowed, her jaw tightening just enough for the cameras to catch it. You just accused me of using my own pain as PR, she said slowly, her accent cutting deeper now. That's low, even for a comedian who's been bombing since 2019. The audience gasped loud and raw. Even Whoopi looked up, muttering. Oh, damn. Joy's fake smile snapped. Excuse me. She hissed, her voice sharper than before. Reba didn't flinch. You heard me. You sit here calling other people out for playing victims. But every time you get called on your cruelty, suddenly you're the one being attacked. You can dish it, Joy. You just can't take it. Joy's face went red, her eyes darting toward the audience that was no longer laughing with her. You think you're better than everyone because you've got a few hit records. You're just another celebrity who wants to act humble while pretending to be real. Reba leaned in slightly, her voice dropping to a near whisper that somehow filled the whole room. No, Joy, I'm real because I had to be. You're loud because you're scared to be. That line landed like thunder. Joy's lips parted, searching for a comeback that didn't exist. The silence stretched. Electric, uncomfortable, and absolutely riveting. Reba finally sat back, eyes still locked on Joy. So go ahead, she said softly. Keep calling hard work old-fashioned. Just remember, some of us earned what we have, others just talk over it. The audience broke into applause, some hesitant, others bold. Joy's hand tightened around her coffee mug, knuckles white, and her smile was gone. The room finally exhaled. Whoopi jumped in, her voice cutting through the static in the air. All right, ladies, she said, forcing a chuckle that didn't quite land. Let's all take a breath before the FCC calls me personally. The audience laughed, but it was uneasy laughter. Joy straightened her notes, forcing a grin that looked more like a shield. Reba sat calm, hands folded, unbothered, but their eyes were still locked. The kind of look that could spark a wildfire. Joy broke the silence first, her voice sweet but sharp around the edges. You've got fire. I'll give you that, she said half smiling. It's rare to see a guest who doesn't crumble after the first tough question. Reba didn't blink. Fire is what keeps people alive. When the cameras turn off, she said evenly. The words hung there. Steady, honest, a reminder that this wasn't a game to her. The crowd gave a low murmur. Joy's jaw tightened, but she kept her poise. Whoopi tried again, gesturing to her cards. So, Reba, about your new album, but Joy cut in before she could finish. You know, maybe this isn't about music at all, she said, tilting her head. Maybe you just can't stand that the spotlight doesn't belong to your generation anymore. Whoopi shot her a don't start again look. But it was too late. Reba turned slightly, her expression unreadable. If you think fame is a possession, she said softly. That explains a lot about why you're still chasing it. The crowd reacted instantly. Some laughed, others just went silent in awe. The line hit clean and deep. Joy's fingers tightened around her cards until they bent. Cute, she muttered, her smile brittle. You've got a line for everything, don't you? Reba's eyes glimmered. Only when someone mistakes attention for success. The temperature in the room seemed to settle. Joy leaned back, pretending to have moved on, flipping through her cue cards as if the last 15 minutes hadn't just scorched half the studio. So, Reba, she began lightly, voice wrapped in fake curiosity. You talk a lot about respect for artists, for the craft. But didn't you once call modern pop music plastic in an interview? She tilted her head, the smile creeping back. Sounds like you're judging, too, the audience murmured. It was a subtle move, but everyone recognized it. Joy was digging for control, trying to shift the balance. Reba's expression didn't change. Difference is, she said calmly, I judge the system, not the people. You judge the people and call it a segment. That line didn't come with anger. It came with precision. It was clean, surgical. Joy's grin stiffened. Touché, she said, forcing a laugh, but her eyes told a different story. The kind that said she's not done. The rest of the panel sat frozen. Sunny stared at her mug. Alyssa had stopped taking notes. Even Whoopi looked like she was counting down to commercial break in her head. Then it happened. The slip. Joy muttered under her breath, just loud enough to be dangerous. Queen of country, queen of contradictions. She probably thought no one heard it, but Reba did. Reba turned her head slowly, one eyebrow raised. Say that louder, Joy, she said, voice low and steady. Insults are supposed to have a backbone. The air snapped. A few people in the audience gasped. Even the sound crew shifted in their seats. Joy froze for half a second, then forced another brittle smile. "Oh, don't take it so personally," she said, waving her hand. Reba leaned forward slightly, still calm. "I don't take it personally," she said. "I just like people to mean what they say, not whisper it and hide behind their coffee." Joy's lips pressed together. Her composure was cracking again. Whoopi tried to cut in, but it was no use. The room was a powder keg now, and Joy lit the match herself. She'd been holding it in for too long, pretending to stay composed, pretending she still had control. But the mask finally slipped, her palm slammed against the desk with a crack that echoed through the studio. "Maybe the problem isn't the music industry," she snapped, voice trembling with anger. "Maybe the problem is artists like you, as who can't take criticism." The audience gasped. The other hosts froze. Reba didn't flinch. She just looked at Joy. Slow, steady, like a woman measuring whether the next move was worth making. Then, without a word, she stood. The shift was instant. The room went silent. "You call that criticism?" Reba said, voice low and controlled. "No, honey. That's arrogance and makeup." The line sliced clean through the air. Joy blinked, caught between fury and disbelief. Reba didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. She stepped closer, one deliberate step at a time. The kind of quiet confidence that only comes from someone who's been underestimated for years. "You've spent decades mocking people from that chair," she said, her eyes locked on Joy. "You dress up cruelty as candor, but the moment someone talks back, suddenly it's too emotional." Joy opened her mouth to respond, but Reba didn't give her the chance. "You call people sensitive to hide that you're scared. Scared someone might finally see through you." The room felt smaller now, tighter. You could hear the faint buzz of the studio lights, the squeak of a camera operator shifting in place. No one dared breathe too loud. Joy finally found her voice, but it came out thin. "You think you know me," she said. "You think because you sing about heartbreak, you understand people." Reba smiled faintly. Not kindly. "No, Joy," she said softly. "I understand people because I listen to them." Something you might try between punchlines. The line landed like thunder. Joy froze, speechless for the first time all morning. Reba didn't move. She just looked at her, calm, steady, untouchable. "There's a line you don't cross," she said. "And you just did." The room felt like it was trembling, though no one moved. The audience barely breathed. The tension had outgrown the studio. It was personal now. Reba stood tall. Her voice no longer calm, no longer measured. "I buried friends, rebuilt careers, survived being told my time was up. By men who didn't even remember my name," she said, her voice rising with each line. You've survived being loud." Joy froze. The insult landed like a slap. Her face flushed, pride twisting into anger. "I fight battles, too, Reba," she snapped. "Just not the kind you can sing about." Reba's stare could have cut glass. "No, you pick battles. Then call it journalism." That line ripped through the air like lightning. The crowd gasped. Joy's mouth opened, but nothing came out. She was cornered, but she wasn't ready to give up. Her voice came out shaking, half fury, half desperation. "You think just because you've been through pain, you own struggle? Everyone in this business bleeds for something." Reba nodded slowly. "Maybe so, but some of us bleed quietly and still show grace. Others spill it for attention and call it bravery." The air turned electric. Joy took a half step forward, matching Reba's stance. "You don't know me," she said through gritted teeth. "You don't know what I've lost." Reba's voice dropped to a near whisper. "Then why do you mock what you don't understand?" For a moment, no one moved. It wasn't just a debate anymore. It was a confession, a confrontation, a reckoning. Then Reba leaned in, eyes unblinking. "And don't ever call me princess again," she said, steady and sharp as a knife. "I've earned my crown the hard way by bleeding for what I love, not belittling it on live TV." Joy tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come. Her mouth opened and closed. The silence that followed was volcanic, heavy, dangerous, and unforgettable. Reba turned slightly toward the audience, her voice softer now, but every word still burning. "There's a difference between speaking truth and spreading poison," she said. "One builds, the other destroys." Joy stood there frozen, not defeated, but shaken in a way she'd never let anyone see before. The cameras caught every second of it. Her stillness, Reba's calm defiance, and the audience leaning forward like witnesses to something bigger than television. Joy's fingers trembled as she reached for her mug. But she didn't drink. Her throat was too tight for that. She exhaled, eyes lowered for a second, the fight draining just enough for a sliver of truth to slip through. "Maybe I crossed a line," she said quietly. Reba didn't move, her voice came calm, firm, not cruel, just unshakably certain. "Maybe you drew it first." Their eyes met. Not reconciled, not forgiving, but understanding. For a brief human moment, it wasn't about ratings, views, or viral clips. It was two women standing in the wreckage of their pride, realizing neither had come out unscathed. Reba reached up and adjusted her mic. The sound was small, but it filled the room. "Respect isn't something you demand, Joy," she said evenly. "It's something you show." She sat back down, posture steady, eyes forward. The cameras were still rolling, but no one dared to breathe. Even the audience seemed afraid that a single sound might shatter the fragile truce forming in the air. Joy forced a thin smile. "A professional reflex, the kind you wear when your pride is still bruised. But you have to finish the show." "Guess we both learned something today," she said softly. Reba gave a small nod. "Maybe," she replied. "But learning doesn't erase the bruise." The words hung in the air like smoke. Lingering, heavy, impossible to ignore. The cameras slowly zoomed out, capturing both women in the same frame. Not enemies, not friends, just two forces who had collided too hard to ever forget it. The red light on the camera blinked, then went dark. "If you thought this was just another celebrity interview, think again." Reba McEntire didn't just defend country music. She defended every artist who's ever been told they're outdated. In Joy Behar, she learned what happens when you mistake confidence for arrogance. Live on air. So, what do you think? Did Joy cross the line or did Reba go too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss another Showdown like.